The story kicks off with Sakani Doji, a 16-year-old boy who looks exhausted, sitting in class as he has already lost the will to question life. Next to him is the new transfer student Onigoroshi Mimeko, also 16, a cute but terrifying girl with horns, an eye patch, and enough demon energy to turn an ordinary classroom into a cursed boss stage. It's revealed that they are already dating, even though it sounds weird, and Pookie MC agrees because bro clearly knows this relationship did not start normally. He looks less like a boyfriend and more like someone who clicked the wrong option in a horror game. The truth is even crazier. Yesterday, after school, Sakani was called outside, and before he could understand anything, Onigoroshi used a sharp object to force him into dating her. Most rom-com protagonists get a love letter. Sakani got threatened into a relationship speedrun. Now he decides that his only chance is to observe her. Every move, every sound, every reaction. He activates full detective mode and stares at her like he is collecting monster data. But the scary demon girl immediately starts breaking down. Her face turns red, her body trembles, and her heart goes wild like a romance alarm. Sakani pretends everything is normal, while secretly writing notes. Onigoroshi notices his stare and gets embarrassed, thinking something weird might be on her face. Sakani silently agrees that, yes, there is definitely a lot of weird stuff going on. He asks whether all those accessories are some kind of fashion trend, and Onigoroshi suddenly treats it like a dating privilege. Since they are now a couple, she decides he can look as much as he wants, but then she puts on a scary mask and proudly acts like she is immune to embarrassment now. Then MC tries a normal boyfriend move for once. He places a drink on her desk and offers to drink together. Onigoroshi instantly panics like he just handed her a suspicious potion from a dungeon chest. She has never experienced something this casual before, so her brain jumps straight to poison, traps, and childhood trauma. Sakani is left wondering what kind of harsh environment created these trust issues. He calmly drinks first to prove it is safe. She gets excited, thanks him, and takes her first sip like this is a legendary romance event. But the second the carbonation hits her mouth, her whole system crashes. She gets blasted backward in pure confusion, like the soda just used a special attack. She feels betrayed and calls it a cruel trick, even though it was literally just a normal carbonated drink. He even apologizes after realizing her weakness. But our hottie decides she must repay the favor. Then, out of nowhere, she pulls out a creepy little doll. Sakani freezes because this relationship just went from awkward romance to supernatural crime evidence in 3 seconds. She adds Sakani's hair to it and starts poking the doll. The effect is immediate, but instead of Sakani, it affects her. Dumbo just used her own hair. Later in class, Sakani still thinks about that suspicious doll and wonders who Onigoroshi really is. During English class, he quietly asks if she has more strange abilities. But the moment he calls her skill impressive, she lights up like someone finally pressed the praise button. She gets so excited that she immediately tries to demonstrate one of her secret techniques in the middle of class. Sakani tries to stop her because they are literally in a lesson, but Onigoroshi is already powering up like a demon schoolgirl about to launch a forbidden art. Before she can complete the move, the teacher appears behind her with terrifying timing and shuts the whole performance down instantly. Onigoroshi apologizes on the spot, completely defeated. After the class, Sakani opened his bag after school and pulled out his precious limited edition Akubi Tan Chibi plush. He stares at the tiny cute doll with a soft, genuine smile, letting all the day's stress melt away for a brief moment. Meanwhile, Onigoroshi quietly sticks something on the classroom wall. When Sakani glances over, he finally gets a proper look at her Oni mask up close. It is genuinely terrifying. Horror happens to be his biggest weakness, and this mask hits him like a jump scare. He asks her to stay still so he can inspect it. Onigoroshi freezes nervously and wonders what he is doing. As he leans in closer, his focus completely derails. Instead of the scary mask, he blurts out that she looks unbelievably cute. Onigoroshi turns bright red and starts slapping him lightly in pure embarrassment while denying it. The more she panics, the cuter she becomes in his eyes. Later, she suddenly gets serious as if Sakani is actually an Oni. He flatly denies it. She sighs in relief as his face looks extremely vicious, which makes him question her sense of compliments. She then drops a bomb. If she ever dated a real Oni, her family would publicly display her severed head. Sakani feels chills, realizing her clan treats dating like a death sentence. To be sure he is human, Onigoroshi demands proof by inspecting his underwear. She explains that real Oni have worn tiger-striped underwear since ancient times. Sakani turns pale and immediately refuses, not because he is an Oni, but because he is wearing his favorite Ohakubi-tan anime boxers. Onigoroshi gasps dramatically. In her mind, his refusal is all the confirmation she needs. Sakani tries desperately to explain, but logic has already vanished. With full gremlin energy, she reaches under her skirt again and pulls out another hidden weapon. She declares that if he refuses to cooperate, she will verify his identity herself and cut him down in one slash. Sakane is no longer scared of the blade. At this point, he is far more shocked by the endless inventory system hidden under her skirt. Suddenly, Onigoroshi charges at him with her weapon. Sakane barely has time to react before she charges at him with terrifying speed. In a panic, he yanks out the plushie like a shield. She stops mid-swing, completely confused by the strange object in his hands. Sakane nervously explains that this is his precious Hakubitan, the healer of his soul. Onigoroshi tilts her head, still processing what this weird creature is. Then something switches in her brain. She suddenly decides this is a present meant for her to celebrate them sitting next to each other. With sparkling excitement, she snatches the plushie and hugs it tightly against her chest. Her face turns bright red as she mumbles that it is such an underhanded attempt to appease her. Despite her tsundere complaints, she clearly loves the gift. Even though Sakane Duji may be an oni in the flesh, she has decided to hold him as the object of her hopes and dreams. Sakane stands there speechless, watching this chaotic girl hug his plushie while blushing furiously. Her embarrassment quickly reaches critical levels. She starts spinning around in a strange, frantic little dance while clutching the doll, her horns and hair flying everywhere. Sakane watches in pure confusion and asks what kind of dance that even is. She becomes even more flustered from the mix of excitement and shyness. The story briefly shifts to Sakane's painful middle school memories. Back then, he once gathered the courage to confess to a girl, only to overhear people immediately rejecting the idea because of his scary-looking face. 3 years later, Sakane officially leaves those miserable middle school days behind and starts his first year of high school. He never expected that someone like him would suddenly end up with a girlfriend. Yet somehow, against all logic, that exact thing happens. As he walks through school, Onigoroshi suddenly sneaks up behind him and covers his eyes from behind while telling him to guess who it is. Unfortunately, she squeezes with too much force. Sakane immediately recognizes her and politely asks her to apply less pressure to his entire skull. At the same time, he reminds himself that despite dating her, he still knows almost nothing about Onigoroshi. That is exactly why he continues observing her so carefully. She then mischievously asks if he is really certain it is her. After he confidently confirms his answer several times, she dramatically slips around in front of him and proudly reveals that it was indeed her all along. She acts as though she just performed the greatest plot twist in human history. Sakane quietly continues his investigation into this mysterious girl while she becomes ridiculously excited over the whole interaction. Apparently, she heard that this is how lovers in the human world play around with each other, and now she is completely fascinated by it. Sakane agrees, and she instantly covers his eyes again with sparkling enthusiasm. This time, before she can even finish asking, he calmly answers with complete confidence. Onigoroshi keeps asking if he is really sure it is her, repeating the question with sparkling excitement like she desperately wants him to fail some hidden relationship test. Sakane finally gets tired of it and asks how many times she plans to repeat the same thing. After calming down a little, she shyly admits there is something she has always wanted to do with the person she dates. While fidgeting nervously and building up courage, she suddenly calls him darling in the softest voice imaginable. The moment the word leaves her mouth, she nearly combusts from embarrassment on the spot. Poor Sakane instantly panics and tries to stop her, but Onigoroshi cuts him off and boldly demands that he call her honey instead. She insists that this is what fashionable lovers in the human world apparently call each other. Sakane becomes more worried about whoever taught her such terrible romance advice than the nickname itself. Even though she dramatically gives up after he refuses, Sakane absent-mindedly repeats the word to himself for a moment. That single word completely destroys her composure. Her face turns bright red, she starts panicking, and she loudly declares the whole thing oni-mazingly embarrassing before desperately trying to bury the topic forever. Meanwhile, Sakane is left wondering why she is the one taking critical damage from her own attack. Later, while washing his hands alone, he quietly pulls out his treasured Chiba Special Limited Edition teddy bear handkerchief. Despite his naturally scary appearance, he immediately relaxes inside just from touching it, proudly thinking about how it heals his soul every time he uses it. Unfortunately, the peaceful moment does not last long. Just as he thinks the embarrassment is finally over, someone suddenly covers his eyes from behind and cheerfully tells him to guess who it is. He instantly recognizes the culprit as Onigoroshi-san without hesitation. The only problem is that they are currently standing inside the boys' bathroom. She awkwardly tries to deny it in a suspiciously forced voice, but while she keeps pressing against his face, the nearby boys stare at the horrifying scene in complete shock. Meanwhile, Sakaini can only complain that she is crushing his eyeballs again. Later, while grabbing a drink from the vending machine, Sakaini catches Onigoroshi secretly sticking something onto the wall once more. The moment she notices him looking, she immediately tries to escape like a criminal caught in 4K. When he demands an explanation, she proudly announces that she is hunting Oni. Then, with dramatic timing, she pulls another mysterious object from beneath her skirt and introduces it as a special Onafuda charm infused with the secret arts of the Onigoroshi school. According to her, these charms react whenever they touch an Oni and can halt, burn, or destroy them while also protecting the surrounding area. Sakaini listens to the explanation, but his brain is focused on one far more important question: exactly how much storage space is hidden in that skirt? As she demonstrates how to place the charm on the wall, Sakaini quietly sneaks closer and decides to copy her Guess Who prank as revenge. Unfortunately, his timing could not have been worse. The exact moment he reaches forward, she suddenly stands up, causing his hand to land somewhere it absolutely should not. Both of them freeze instantly. Sakaini panics even harder and starts apologizing at lightning speed while internally screaming that this misunderstanding is definitely going to get him executed by the Onigoroshi clan. After the accidental incident, Onigoroshi silently walks away without saying a word. When he nervously calls out to her, he notices that her face has completely shut down like a malfunctioning robot. Later during class, she quietly admits that she cannot remember anything from the previous break period at all. Sakaini desperately tries to act normal, but his face turns completely red from panic, making him look guiltier than humanly possible. Then Onigoroshi calmly points out that his scary face does not seem very scary anymore. After looking at him more closely, she admits that he actually has a surprisingly cute expression. Poor Sakaini nearly flatlines after hearing that, because it is the first time in his entire life that anyone has called him cute instead of terrifying. Unfortunately, she immediately ruins the moment by comparing him to a cute little devil. Still completely flustered, Sakaini suddenly covers her eyes from behind and repeats her favorite little game by asking her to guess who. The moment he does that, all of Onigoroshi's forgotten memories instantly come rushing back. The scene opens with Onigoroshi standing dramatically at the tip of a mountain in her true form. Wind blows violently around her while she points her sword forward and declares that the Oni has finally revealed itself. She charges straight toward her enemy while shouting that no Oni shall be allowed to live. In reality, she is asleep in class. Meanwhile, Sakaini quietly watches his sleeping girlfriend as she smiles happily and mutters suspicious things in her sleep. Even after dating her, he still barely understands anything about Onigoroshi-san, which is exactly why he keeps observing her so carefully every day. At this point, he honestly feels like she might eventually become a bigger problem than the Oni themselves. Right in the middle of class, the teacher suddenly calls on her to answer the next question. Panicking, Sakaini quickly folds a tiny paper airplane with "Wake Up" written on it and launches it toward her desk like it is a life-saving mission. She instantly wakes up as if she is still in the middle of battle and almost draws her sword on reflex. The teacher mistakes her panic for enthusiasm and happily praises her energetic response before asking for the answer. Completely embarrassed, she quietly admits that she was not paying attention. Then, after the teacher asks her to speak louder, she honestly confesses that she had been sleeping. After nearly entering combat mode in the middle of class, her sword gets confiscated for violating school rules. She immediately looks spiritually defeated, as if her entire bloodline has been dishonored. Once things calm down, Sakaini asks what she was even dreaming about. With a cheerful smile, she explains that she was reliving the moment she sliced off the neck of a boss-level Oni during an intense battle last month. The weirdest part is how sweetly she talks about decapitation. He realizes this girl can casually describe horrifying violence while looking like an angel straight out of heaven. At that point, he decides simple observation is no longer enough, so he asks where she lived before transferring here. She casually shares that she spent 16 years living deep in the mountains before finally defeating a powerful Oni and achieving her lifelong dream of becoming a normal high school girl. Unfortunately, Sakaini immediately concludes she is nowhere near normal. Trying to steer the conversation towards something less terrifying, he asks what kind of food she likes. After thinking for a moment, she shyly admits that she absolutely loves sweets, because she barely got to eat any while growing up in the mountains. The moment Sakaini hears that, he quietly pulls out a box of strawberry chocolates from his bag. She stares at it with sparkling eyes like she just witnessed a divine artifact descending from the heavens. Thrifted Hero snaps the chocolate in half and offers it to her. Cutie treats it like some legendary forbidden treasure. Her eyes sparkle, her body trembles, and she starts clutching the chocolate as it descends straight from heaven. Meanwhile, Sakaini just stands there, wondering what kind of survival lifestyle she lived before transferring here. Just as she finally gathers the courage to eat the rest, the teacher suddenly appears out of nowhere and confiscates the sweets with terrifying efficiency. Onigoroshi-san immediately enters full mourning mode. Then, the two get assigned punishment duty and are forced to carry giant stacks of books to the staff room. But while carrying them, Onigoroshi's brain remains completely occupied by the stolen sweets. Sakaine watches her quietly and starts wondering again why this mysterious girl confessed to him in the first place, and right as he gets lost in thought, he accidentally bumps into another girl on the stairs. The books explode everywhere across the steps. Our heroine suddenly takes off at absurd speed like Captain Marvel. Sakaine barely manages to blink before she starts catching every single falling book mid-air, and while doing all that, she somehow pulls another strange object out from under her skirt again. Using another Onigoroshi school secret art, she rapidly sorts the books by subject with ridiculous precision, all while still carrying her original stack in one hand without dropping a single one. Then, immediately after showing off, she suddenly hugs Sakaine and demands praise with sparkling eyes. The surprise attack completely throws him off balance, and naturally, every single book crashes onto the floor again. After classes end, Sakaine notices her covering herself and the classroom with weird purification stickers. The entire scene looks less like spiritual cleansing and more like a low-budget exorcism gone wrong. When Sakaine nervously wonders what she is doing, she sadly replies that today's constant failures are obviously the result of a powerful curse left behind by the Oni, whose neck she sliced off last month. Sakaine decides it is probably healthier for his sanity not to unpack any part of that statement. Instead, while she looks depressed, he awkwardly invites her to go eat sweets together next time since he knows a really good place nearby. But then she suddenly stands up dramatically and announces that the purification ritual is complete. Right at that exact moment, the teacher calmly orders them to clean everything before leaving. Onigoroshi-san immediately blames the curse again. The next morning, Sakaine walks to school under absolutely miserable rain clouds while fighting for his life against the humidity. His normally sharp hair has transformed into a giant curly disaster, making him look even scarier than usual, and nearby students panic the moment they see him. While aggressively trying to flatten his hair back down, he suddenly hears Onigoroshi greeting him from behind. She is completely soaked, absolute disaster state. According to her, this weather is incredible. Ever since moving here, she has never experienced rain this exciting before. Meanwhile, Sakaine stands there questioning reality because the storm feels less like weather and more like a natural disaster. The two of them honestly seem to be living in completely different climates. Then Onigoroshi suddenly shakes herself violently like a wet dog, spraying water everywhere. Still, after hearing her strangely passionate speech about rain being a blessing from the earth itself, Sakaine starts wondering if maybe he should try seeing things more positively too. And then lightning flashes across the sky. The moment thunder rumbles afterward, she instantly freezes. Her expression completely changes. Just seconds ago, she was praising the storm like nature's greatest gift, but now she quietly moves closer while nervously muttering that this weather might actually be the worst thing ever. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, Onigoroshi tries drying herself off while still completely drenched from the rain. Seeing her like that, Sakaine reluctantly reaches into his bag and offers her a towel, then immediately regrets it because the towel happens to be his personal limited edition Hakubitan towel. The moment she gratefully reaches for it, Sakaine panics and snatches it back like his soul just left his body. She quietly lowers her eyes after that, genuinely looking hurt while blaming the rain for getting into them. At that point, Sakaine internally dies from guilt. Unable to handle making her cry, he hurriedly gives the towel back while desperately clarifying that the problem is definitely not her. Meanwhile, Onigoroshi happily rubs the fluffy towel against her face while admiring how soft it feels. A few seconds later, she sneezes from the cold rain, so Sakaine offers her tissues too, and once again instantly regrets it because naturally the tissue case is also part of his hidden Hakubitan collection. The cycle repeats perfectly. He offers it, she politely accepts it, and he panics and snatches it back. At this point, Bro is fighting harder against his own hobbies than against any Oni. Then, while Onigoroshi prepares to sneeze again, Sakaine suddenly snaps. Before she can react, he awkwardly leans in and wipes her nose himself instead. The classroom atmosphere instantly enters critical damage territory while Sakaine's brain screams at itself over what he is even doing anymore. A little later, she returns wearing his spare gym clothes instead of her soaked uniform. Bro nearly takes psychic damage from how unfairly good she looks in them. Meanwhile, she sincerely apologizes for borrowing his clothes, while Sakaine desperately struggles to act normal, despite internally exploding. Later in class, SH suddenly decides that drying her uniform normally is for weaklings. She pulls another strange talisman from beneath her secret pocket and activates one of the Onigoroshi school's 108 secret arts. A second later, Sakaine watches her literally breathe fire onto her wet uniform like a low-budget dragon. The problem is that she is absolutely terrible at controlling it. Either the flames do nothing, or she almost burns the entire classroom down. According to her, using full power would instantly turn the school into a barbecue incident. Sakaine just stands there wondering how this girl is somehow losing a battle against wet clothes. Then lightning flashes outside again, and instantly the fearless fire-breathing Oni hunter completely folds. The second thunder hits. She jumps straight onto Sakaine and clings to him like a terrified cat. Apparently, she believes storms are how Oni hunt people. Rain first, thunder second, death afterward. Meanwhile, the entire classroom watches them in silence while Sakaine takes critical emotional damage. She is way too close, her wet hair smells nice, and his brain is overheating harder than her fire magic. Then she quietly begs him not to let the Oni eat her, and Sakaine accidentally pats her head without thinking. Instantly afterward, his heart starts beating like he accidentally unlocked a romance route. Another loud thunderclap scares her so badly that she crashes straight into him and grabs onto his suit for dear life. Unfortunately, the impact is strong enough to pop open a few of his buttons, something straight out of a dramatic shoujo manga scene. Onigoroshi instantly freezes, points at him, and panics, convinced he is revealing his hidden Oni form. Meanwhile, poor lad is literally getting crushed underneath her while wondering what kind of battle she thinks they are fighting right now. He is struggling just to breathe while she treats the whole situation like a final boss encounter. Later, school ends, but the rain still refuses to stop. Sakaine opens his umbrella and awkwardly offers to share it with Onigoroshi, but unlike earlier, she suddenly loves the rain again and immediately runs straight into the storm while splashing through puddles like an excited child. Apparently, rain only becomes evil when thunder is involved. She happily waves goodbye while running off at full speed, leaving Sakaine standing there wondering if she is actually part dog. Then the next day arrives, still raining. Sakaine sits in class mentally preparing himself for whatever nonsense Onigoroshi is about to create today. He even assumes she must be completely soaked again, only for her to suddenly appear behind him out of nowhere like a horror game NPC, and somehow she is wearing a swimsuit. According to her logic, swimsuits are literally designed to get wet, making them the ultimate anti-rain technology. Sakaine instantly loses the will to argue with reality anymore and simply tells her to please change clothes immediately. Thankfully, this time Bro came prepared. Expecting another weather-related disaster, he proudly pulls out a bath towel he specifically brought from home for her. The moment Onigoroshi touches the soft towel, she looks completely happy, as if a simple fluffy towel is enough to defeat her emotionally. But before Sakaine can explain how to use it properly, she wraps the whole thing around herself like she is relaxing at a hot spring instead. At this point, even the rain has probably stopped questioning her decisions. The scene shifts to Onigoroshi randomly doing crunches in the middle of class, while Sakaine holds her legs down like this is a gym training arc instead of lunch break. Completely out of nowhere, she suddenly blurts out that she has absolutely no friends. Meanwhile, Sakaine instantly replies that he does not have any either. Bro really responded with same problem without even hesitating. The two of them somehow create their own strange little world in the classroom, while everyone else quietly watches from a safe distance. After finishing an absurd number of crunches, she sadly admits that ever since transferring here, nobody has tried talking to her or becoming friends with her. Sakaine gently points out that doing mysterious mountain training exercises during breaks probably is not helping her social life much. But apparently, her biggest fear right now is becoming the girl who has to pair up with the teacher during volleyball because nobody chooses her. Honestly, the fact that someone even planted this fear into her head is hilarious. Still, she quickly recovers and smugly declares that even if the entire class abandons her, at least she will still have Sakaine beside her in loneliness. Sakaine rejects that role immediately because Bro refuses to become part of the social outcast duo speedrun. But then the atmosphere suddenly changes when a super cheerful girl appears out of nowhere and hugs Sakaine from behind like she has premium access to his personal space. She excitedly congratulates him on getting a girlfriend while acting shocked that he never mentioned it before. Meanwhile, Sakaine instantly starts panicking because this girl is apparently his only actual friend, and now Onigoroshi is standing right there watching everything unfold in real time. She immediately pulls a sword halfway out from her mysterious hidden storage like she is about to execute a traitor on the spot. According to her, Sakaine has committed the grave sin of cheating and violated their sacred alliance. Meanwhile, he is completely confused because he does not remember agreeing to any alliance in the first place. Things become even worse when Onigoroshi starts staring directly at the girl while struggling to describe her. Somehow, the words cute and little maiden accidentally slip out, and unfortunately, being called tiny deals critical emotional damage every single time. Still clinging to Sakaini, Toyoshiki introduces himself proudly as Sakaini's only friend. Sakaini immediately denies the accusation. According to him, they simply ended up going through elementary school, middle school, and high school together through pure, rotten luck. If anything, he considers Toyoshiki something closer to a suspicious acquaintance. Toyoshiki responds by informing everyone that Sakaini is exactly the kind of guy who could fail at making friends for his entire life. Honestly, considering the evidence, nobody in the room can even argue against it. Sakaini then casually reveals that he genuinely thought Toyoshiki was a girl until 3rd grade. Toyoshiki immediately enters emotional breakdown mode while loudly insisting he is definitely still going to grow taller someday. Meanwhile, Onigoroshi quietly watches the two of them bicker back and forth like idiots, and somehow she looks a little jealous. According to her, even if their relationship looks weird, Sakaini still has something that resembles a friend. Sakaini immediately corrects her again by downgrading Toyoshiki back to an acquaintance level. At this point, Toyoshiki is one insult away from crying for real. Then, Onigoroshi suddenly clenches her fist dramatically. Apparently, this entire conversation has awakened something inside her. If Sakaini can somehow obtain a strange little creature like Toyoshiki, then she, too, shall obtain friendship. And before anyone can stop her, Onigoroshi storms out of the classroom with full determination burning in her eyes like a hero beginning a dangerous quest arc. She declares that if things keep going like this, she is going to end up becoming one of those girls who get grouped with the leftover loners during school trips. Sakaini points that out immediately, but Onigoroshi completely ignores him. Instead, she announces that from now on she will approach friendship proactively. Unfortunately, the way she says proactive sounds less like social interaction and more like the start of a military operation. And then she spots a quiet girl peacefully reading a manga alone nearby. Before anyone can react, Onigoroshi suddenly slides behind the poor girl, hugs her tightly, and calmly threatens her to become friends with her. Toyoshiki instantly calls her an idiot, while Sakaini grabs Onigoroshi and drags her away at emergency speed before any teachers notice the situation. While escaping, he desperately tells her that threatening people is absolutely not how friendships are supposed to work. Onigoroshi, however, looks genuinely confused because, according to her logic, using force is exactly how she ended up dating him in the first place. The atmosphere instantly becomes awkward. Toyoshiki watches the two of them in complete disbelief before loudly declaring that they are overcomplicating friendship way too much. Apparently, making friends is actually easy. To prove it, he casually walks over to the same girl Onigoroshi nearly kidnapped 5 seconds earlier and starts chatting about the manga she was reading. Within moments, the two of them are happily nerding out over characters and laughing about wasting money on gacha rolls like old friends. Meanwhile, Onigoroshi and Sakaini stand nearby watching this horrifying display of normal human communication unfold in real time. After seeing Toyoshiki socialize that smoothly, Sakaini quietly starts wondering if that little gremlin might actually be his friend after all. Then he immediately rejects the idea. According to him, the two of them simply live in completely different worlds. Right on cue, Toyoshiki suddenly returns, while proudly announcing that he already got the girl's address. Sakaini congratulates him with visible concern for society, while beside him, Onigoroshi silently takes critical emotional damage. Her soul practically crumbles in real time after witnessing friendship happen that easily. According to her, the difficulty level of making friends is amazingly high. At this rate, she is apparently destined to become the tragic person who misses the 50th class reunion because nobody even remembered to invite her. The image is so strangely depressing that both Sakaini and Toyoshiki instinctively start feeling bad for her. After a brief silence, he gently pats her shoulder and tells her that if things are really that difficult, then he will help her practice making friends instead. Instantly, she looks up at him like he just said the coolest thing imaginable. The story suddenly takes a dramatic turn as Onigoroshi appears sitting on top of a building in an absolutely ridiculous ninja-style battle outfit. She announces that the battle between the two of them shall now commence. According to her, this is what humans call a date. And then the story rewinds to one day earlier at school. The moment Toyoshiki hears that the two of them are going outside together tomorrow, Bro instantly calls it what it obviously is. A date. Both Sakaini and Onigoroshi freeze like they just got exposed. Onigoroshi desperately tries explaining that they are merely going outside together at the same time to consume sweets. Sakaini backs her up immediately, insisting that this is simply fulfilling an earlier promise. Toyoshiki stares at them with absolute disappointment. According to the rest of humanity, that is literally called a date. The word date alone deals massive psychic damage to Onigoroshi. She instantly starts panicking while muttering something about needing to prepare her victory underwear. Nobody, including herself, seems to understand what that even means. Right in the middle of the chaos, the shy manga girl from earlier suddenly approaches Toyoshiki while nervously holding a pair of movie tickets. Apparently, her older brother gave them to her, but she has nobody to go with. The atmosphere instantly changes. After gathering all her courage, the shy girl invites Toyoshiki out. But instead of acting normal for once, Toyoshiki gets way too excited and suggests that everyone should just go together. Sakaini immediately senses disaster approaching, but before he can respond, Onigoroshi quietly grabs his sleeve and pulls him closer like she is protecting her territory. According to her, the two of them already have plans tomorrow. Sakaini awkwardly suggests that maybe Toyoshiki and the girl should just go by themselves instead. And somehow it works perfectly. The shy girl instantly brightens up and admits she technically invited other people too, but everyone else turned her down. So now it will just be the two of them together. Sakaini silently congratulates the still unnamed girl for somehow managing to tame that creature. Meanwhile, right beside him, Onigoroshi slowly turns red while trying to process the fact that tomorrow will officially be her very first date. After he confirms their meeting time in front of the station at 1 p.m., she immediately salutes him like a soldier receiving battle orders. And then the next day arrives. Normal people calmly walk around the station, minding their business. Meanwhile, Onigoroshi literally descends from above like a ninja assassin entering the battlefield. Sakaini instantly realizes his fears were justified. Not only did she arrive 2 entire hours early, but she also showed up wearing what looks like her ultimate combat outfit. According to her, it is the most stylish clothing she owns and her personal favorite. Apparently, the only ones who have ever seen it before are the Oni she defeated, which is somehow the least concerning part of this conversation. Then, after all that confidence, Onigoroshi suddenly gets nervous and quietly asks if she actually looks good in it. And for a second, Sakaini completely stops functioning because yeah, she absolutely does. Onigoroshi calmly inspects Sakaini's suggestion and agrees that he looks good in the outfit, but then immediately switches into critique mode. According to her, the outfit is too formal and lacks a casual feel. She suggests he would look even better in something more relaxed. Sakaini, trying to survive the conversation, suggests that something like home clothes would be fine. That's when things get weird again. Onigoroshi casually mentions that at home she's usually in a completely unarmed state, which immediately makes the conversation at the train station feel a bit too personal. She quickly adds that she does have normal clothes for going out, but refuses to wear them because she thinks the design is so ugly it offends her sense of style as an Oni hunter. Sakaini immediately gets curious because anything she calls ugly is probably dangerous in some way, so he asks to see it. Big mistake. Without hesitation, Onigoroshi activates some ridiculous secret Oni technique and instantly changes clothes on the spot like a magical girl animation glitching in real life. People walking by freeze. According to her, it is just a fast-changing technique from the Onigoroshi school. According to Sakaini's brain, it is public indecency to speedrun any percent. After the outfit change finishes right in front of him, Sakaini is left questioning how he ended up dating someone who treats public spaces like a training field. They arrive at the cafe and sit down to enjoy their sweets, but Onigoroshi immediately moves closer and sticks to him like a human shield. Sakaini glances around, already wondering why his date feels more like a bodyguard assignment. According to her, his position in life is right next to hers, so that is where he should always sit. Sakaini eventually gives up arguing because it feels pointless. While eating, he notices something strange. She enjoys the food with complete focus, like a final boss discovering dessert for the first time. He casually points out something on her cheek. Before he can react, she leans in and removes it in an unexpected way, leaving Sakaini completely frozen while she happily comments that the sweet taste is amazing. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Toyoshiki's outing gets cancelled because his new friend caught a cold, wiping out his perfectly planned social day in an instant.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.